Okay, good. Oh, didn't see you there. Guess I'll come over and talk to you. My name's Charlie, and this is my all-American life. So, I have been doing a little bit of research, been taking a little time off, trying to learn how to edit, trying to learn how to film, trying to learn how to do a bunch of stuff. And I'm still pretty crap, but I'm still gonna try. And this video has taken me some time to figure out. It's gonna be about, well, it's in the title, you know what it's gonna be about. I went through 2 drug tests since I have tried to start getting content for this video, like asking people, figuring out stuff. So this video is about pipeline drug tests. And to be clear, from the get-go, I'm gonna make this statement. I do not condone any drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't like being around people that do drugs. I don't want any, let me just put it this way. If you're gonna do drugs, you don't need to be out here in a high safety situation, like around equipment like track hose, backhoes, weld machines, around active gas lines, oil tanks. You don't need to be here. And I'm gonna make that point clear right now. If you're watching this and you do drugs, click off of it. Don't even try to join the pipeline. That's all there is you need to know. It's just get out. Don't do this. Got it? So, I got a couple notes here in my book, handy dandy book. So what type of drug tests will you be taking? All right, you don't do drugs. Here's something you might need to know. What type of drug test will you be taking? You're going to be taking a DOT, drug and alcohol test. All right, a lot of employers require it in high safety jobs like driving a truck, Department of Transportation, DOT drug test, or in the oil field. If you are in like on a derrick, or if you're on a pad, or if you're in the refinery, or if you're in, maybe if you're even in a glass plant, you're probably gonna have to take a DOT drug test. Okay, so I had a little bit of information here I'm looking up. All right, so the difference between a DOT drug test and a non-DOT drug test is a non-DOT drug test can be performed in an office somewhere. They have a little cup, a little test strip, they test it in, pull out, get your results super quick. However, with a DOT drug test, you are normally going to have pee into a cup, and then they'll put it in little vials, you'll sign the vials, and they'll mail it off. So it's things that it's going to take through, like a non-DOT is usually pretty instant, but a DOT drug test takes some time. You're going to 3 or 4 days, and when they get it back and you actually failed, they're going to call you. They're going to call your employer, and they're going to call you. You put a number on that thing when you fill out the paperwork, and they're going to call you and tell you failed. What might be a consequence of failing? First off, you're not going to get the job. Second off, what they're going to do is for you to get another safety sensitive position. Doesn't matter what area you're going to work in, what industry, but we're talking about pipelines here. You have to go to a DOT drug testing class. And so what that's going to do is you're going to have to take some courses, whether it's night courses or classes, I don't know. But you're going to have to take some courses to go through some rehab, and it's going to be a big ordeal. It's going to cost you a ton of money that comes out of your own pocket, and pretty much you're screwed. You can't work unless you want to go work at like McDonald's or something until you get that taken care of. Now, a difference between another thing between DOT drug tests and non-DOT drug tests is if they do mail off a non-DOT drug test, it might take longer than a DOT drug test to get results back because of the fact that state laws and national laws or whatever it is, laws require that DOT drug tests take priority over non-DOT drug tests because they have tons of stricter regulations. And I can't give you a whole list of what regulations are more strict or what not, but just DOT drug tests are more important than non-DOT drug tests, and you're going to get results probably back quicker. Unless you go into an office somewhere, you pee in the cup, they do the test strip, give you results then and there. Alright. Now, when will you be taking a DOT drug test? Most common is when you're a new hire. When you're a new hire, every time this industry, you're going to take a DOT drug test. Next most common time is going to be after an incident. So if you're out in the fields, a Traco hits a line, the operator's going and the swamper's both going to get drug tested. They can't work until the drug tests come back negative. If you're in a truck and you hit the inspector's truck or you hit a piece of equipment, you're going to be drug tested. You're going to be laid off for a few days until your drug test comes back. Or, in other cases, what they do a drug test if it's random. If it's completely random, which a lot of companies say they do random drug tests, but in reality is, most of them don't even do random drug tests. And what I mean by that is, you always heard stories about people getting tested and every time, right? Well, that may not be necessarily the case, but what I'm thinking of the case is going to be is when I say that really don't do random drug tests, is I've only ever seen one random drug test performed in a year's time that I can think of. They're not common, don't really have to worry about it, just kind of goes back to the if you keep your nose clean, you don't have to worry about it anyways. Now, there is 3 forms of observation, I guess you'd call it, for drug testing. When you go in to get drug tested, most of the time, you're going to be... Okay, let me just put it this way. There's 3 levels of drug testing and for observation. You're going to have what's in the field, like a safety guy comes out after an incident and tells you to go behind the pickup, pee in a cup. That's probably the most common, maybe, or less sensitive, less observation. Or if you're going to an office somewhere, it's a guy, he's got 10 guys that he's got to have drug tested and seal the cap. So he just says, all right, go behind the building, pee in the cup, come back in, and I'll take care of it. That's probably the least observation you're going to find. The second one is if you're in an office somewhere or in a testing facility. Because what companies can and will do is hire an outside testing facility to test you instead of having their own employees do it. And then they'll have them send off and then get the report back from them. It takes the hassle off of them. They don't have to worry about it. They just send all their employees to an area and then they pay those guys. It's super simple. But in those cases, you'll go in and they're kind of strict. They'll be like, all right, put your keys in everything in your pockets in that lockbox over there. Wash your hands. Come over here. Fill out this paperwork. Then there's a lady or a guy that stands there with gloves on and tells you step by step what to do. And they watch you kind of like a hawk. They're just kind of making sure you're not got a vial of pee in your pants or something. I don't know. And then you go into a bathroom. They tell you don't flush, don't wash your hands, don't do anything. Pee into the cup. Once you get full, pee. If you need to go more, finish in the toilet. Do not flush. Open up the door, hand them the cup. You'll go over. They'll tell you to wash your hands. You'll wash your hands. You'll fill out information again. And then they'd handle the rest of it. You don't even know when they flush or anything. You just go on about your business. Then the most severe form of drug testing, which is something you're generally not going to find in this industry, is direct observation. It's pretty much like the last one I just explained, except minus going into... They're in there in the bathroom with you, and they're looking at your little pee-pee while you're doing your business. I mean, nothing you can avoid, but most of the time, or the only times you're going to have that is in, like, usually, I don't think it's going to be in this industry. It's going to be in more like doping situations with athletes, where they have to ensure that you're not doing any stuff to get any advance, and make sure that your analysis sample is your urinalysis sample. So what they're looking for is, when they send this off, is they're going to find enzymes, traces of drugs, metabolites, anything that can or will indicate that you're doing drugs. And they can tell the difference between doing a drug and being exposed to a drug by the levels of what you have had in your system. Which brings me to false positives, alright? Like I said earlier, if you're not doing anything, you don't have anything to worry about, and you can go ahead and get in this industry. But if you have to worry about a drug, you probably shouldn't be in this industry. But you could test positive for something you didn't do. And I got a list here, like amphetamines, meth, things that can cause you to test positive, which they can tell after they do further testing, but most of the time, they give you your test, they mail it back, or they call you. They're not going to go and do any further testing because it's more expensive. But cold medicines and nasal inhalers. If you're kind of sick before you go to take a drug test, don't be taking any cold medicine or anything. Go take your drug test, because it can lead to a false positive for, like, meth, amphetamines, cocaine. If you're a big tea drinker and you love coca tea, it comes from the same plant. Don't be an idiot. It comes from the same plant and can make you test positive for cocaine 2 to 36 hours before a drug test, or after a drug test, or 2 to 36 hours after you drink. You can test positive for cocaine on a drug test. Opiates like heroin. Certain antibiotics like if it ends with fluoxetine, like levofloxacin, oflofloxacin, pifloc, I can't even say them all. They're taking, those type of drugs are prescribed, and there's nothing wrong with them, but like, they can test positive for heroin. These drugs are commonly used for tuberculosis, meningitis, a UTI tract infection, pneumonia, and gonorrhea. Those aren't non-common. Those are pretty common diseases. I mean, tuberculosis, meningitis, UTI, pneumonia, gonorrhea. I'm sorry if you got gonorrhea, but pretty much, if you know you're taking that drug, I would let the tester know about that before, because you don't want to have to go take that class and see what they say when you go in to get tested. Opium, poppy seeds. Poppy seeds contain small amounts of codeine and morphine, small traces. Now, eating a muffin ain't gonna make you, a poppy muffin ain't gonna make you fail a drug test. But if you just love poppy seeds in your diet, you might fail if you take them in quite a bit. Now, here's one that I actually didn't know that I had to look up, and that's for marijuana. You can test positive with ibuprofen. Who knew? You got a little ache and pain, you go get you 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, down them, probably won't do anything. But if you get a little excess and you take 1,200 milligrams, a study found that it could cause you to test positive for THC. Now, what levels of THC, I don't know. But to test positive for THC, the threshold is 50 milligrams per milliliter. If you have less than that, you're not going to test positive for THC. They can do further testing in fine levels, but you don't have to really worry about it. But, a little bit of a story time. I took a drug test one time, and I was a little worried I might fail it, because I didn't know. I had been over around a friend that has a medical marijuana card. And I was afraid that because I had been around him and I knew he smoked and I had walked into a cloud of smoke one time, that I might fail a drug test. I don't smoke. Don't condone it. But I had a drug test like 5 or 6 days later. I was worried. You don't understand how worried I was. I get in that drug test area and I asked the lady, I'm like, hey, am I going to fail this test? And she kind of laughed and said there's nothing I need to worry about, because even if it was still in my system, the traces would be so low that I would have nothing to worry about. It wouldn't show up positive. But so you can test positive for secondhand smoke. Now, the example she gave would be basically a little bit before a test, a day or less than a day. If you were in a single cab pickup with 3 other guys that were just hammering, hotboxing the pickup. I'm talking a bench seat, 4 people in there, 3 of them smoking, hotboxing that pickup. You're probably going to test positive. But if you were to just, well, here, let me just go ahead and read this. I have that written down. Your THC getting your system depends on puff duration, the depth of inhalation, and breath hold. So therefore, if regular breathing of diluted smoke, aka an environment that the smoke is moving around, it's not just sitting there concentrated, you're not going to take in very much THC at all, if any. But if it does show up on, the concentration will be low enough that it's not going to show up as a positive, as a smoker. Is there anything left? Oh! One little bit of information. THC can stay in the urine for up to 21 days if you smoke regularly, or are not slim, because fat cells is where THC is stored. So if you're a lot larger individual, if you're a big guy, fat, just heavy set, you're going to have a higher concentration, and it's going to take a lot longer for it to be out of your system. So that was my pipeline drug test rundown. If you are going to go take a drug test joining the pipeline, good for you. We need good workers. You better have a good work ethic. But if you're worried about, an accident happening, like you opened up a car door and just big old deep breath of weed smoke, and I wouldn't be too worried about it. But if you are a smoker, you're gonna fail. If you are doing drugs, you're gonna fail, and we don't need you. That's all there is to it. It's too much of a risk out here. But other than that, all I can say is good luck. Hope maybe get to work with you one day, and don't do drugs. All right.